Este fin de semana, 12 presuntos criminales fueron abatidos después de un enfrentamiento que tuvieron con elementos de la Secretaría de la Defensa Nacional, la Sedena, en Ciudad Miguel Alemán.
February 19th, 2024, Mexican soldiers patrolled near Miguel Alemán, Tamaulipas, as danger lurked just beyond the brush. Suddenly, automatic gunfire erupted. The Gulf Cartel's ambush was underway. This wasn't the first cartel assault on military patrols, but today would end differently. 12 cartel gunmen faced modern special forces. None would survive. These are 4 cartels that attacked the wrong special forces unit.
The Mexican army has killed at least 19 suspected members of the deadly Sinaloa cartel. In an overnight ambush on Monday, the army has given the Sinaloa cartel one of its biggest defeats in recent
October 2024, the outskirts of Culiacan, Sinaloa, become the scene of a historic confrontation between the Mexican army and the notorious Sinaloa cartel. What began as a routine patrol quickly escalates into a deadly ambush, one that will be remembered as a decisive blow against one of Mexico's most powerful criminal organizations. The Sinaloa cartel, founded in the late 1980s, had long dominated drug trafficking routes across Mexico and into the United States. Under the leadership of figures like Joaquin El Chapo Guzman and Ismael El Mayo Zambada, the cartel built a vast criminal empire spanning continents. By 2024, it had fractured into warring factions: the Maitos, loyal to Zambada, and the Chapitos, led by El Chapo's sons.
According to the Mexican Defense Ministry, the gunfire took place after more than 30 cartel gunmen fired on Mexican soldiers.
The confrontation occurs just days after the arrest of a key Maitos lieutenant known as El Max. Army intelligence had been monitoring cartel movements in the area, aware that infighting between the two factions was reaching a boiling point. When more than 30 armed cartel members initiate an ambush on the patrol, the soldiers respond with tactical precision. The firefight is intense but brief. While 11 cartel gunmen manage to escape, 19 are killed in the exchange. The scene reveals the cartel's military-grade firepower: 17 rifles, including a .50 caliber sniper rifle, and 4 machine guns are recovered from the battlefield. The army suffers no casualties, a testament to their training and discipline.
One cartel member was unable to flee and was arrested by the Mexican military. He has been identified as Edwin Antonio, a local leader of the Sinaloa cartel.
Amid the chaos, Mexican forces capture Edwin Antonio, a significant local leader of the Sinaloa cartel. His arrest sends shockwaves through the organization, further destabilizing the already fracturing criminal enterprise. The battle's timing is no coincidence. It occurs against the backdrop of escalating violence in Sinaloa state, with over 200 deaths and 300 disappearances since early September due to cartel rivalries. The ongoing war between the Maitos and Chapitos factions has transformed Culiacan into a war zone, with businesses closing and citizens living in constant fear. President Claudia Sheinbaum, newly elected and promising a harder stance against organized crime, immediately addresses the nation. Her administration's justice as a measure for security strategy is put to the test as she coordinates federal and military response to the growing violence.
We will reduce the number of high-impact crimes. We will because we have a strategy and will implement it. We will pay more attention than what was given by the government of President López Obrador to certain topics.
The community response is mixed. While many view the Army's success as a positive step, others remain skeptical about the long-term effectiveness of military action against deeply entrenched criminal networks. Local residents express frustration with the persistent violence, calling for more direct engagement from federal authorities.
According to official data, gang violence in just the Sinaloa state has left around 200 people dead since early September. More than 300 others are believed to be missing.
The Army's victory is immediately apparent on the streets. Military convoys patrol Culiacan, asserting control over key areas and disrupting cartel operations. The seizure of military-style equipment and weapons from the ambush site cripples the cartel's ability to conduct large-scale attacks in the region. Yet, the broader conflict continues. Despite this significant setback, the Sinaloa cartel remains a formidable force, with operations spanning multiple countries and continents. The internal war between its factions persists, driving further violence and instability across northern Mexico.
The recent success by the Mexican army is a rare and welcome sight. Ordinary Mexicans still fear for their lives and continue to suffer from cartel violence.
This confrontation marks a turning point in the Mexican government's fight against organized crime. It demonstrates the effectiveness of coordinated military action, but also highlights the challenges of dismantling deeply rooted criminal organizations. The Army's success serves as both a warning and a challenge to other cartels. Attacking the wrong Special Forces unit can have devastating consequences. As the dust settles in Culiacan, the message is clear. While the war against cartels is far from over, the Mexican Army has shown it can strike decisive blows against even the most powerful criminal organizations. The fight continues, but this victory marks a significant step forward in restoring security and rule of law to a region long dominated by violence and fear. The aftermath of this confrontation sets the stage for further government action against organized crime. It emboldens law enforcement efforts across Mexico, while simultaneously exposing the vulnerabilities of even the most powerful cartels when faced with coordinated military response. In the broader context of Mexico's ongoing struggle against organized crime, this battle serves as both a milestone and a warning. The Sinaloa cartel, once considered untouchable, now faces an emboldened government willing to take the fight directly to its strongholds. The message is clear. Even the most powerful criminal organizations can fall when they attack the wrong Special Forces unit. As the story of this confrontation spreads, it inspires both hope and caution. Hope that organized crime can be confronted and defeated, but caution that the fight will require sustained effort, sacrifice, and resolve. The Mexican Army's victory is not just a tactical success, it represents a strategic shift in the ongoing battle for control of Mexico's future. This is how the Sinaloa cartel learned the hard way what happens when you attack the wrong Special Forces unit. A lesson that will resonate through Mexico's ongoing fight against organized crime for years to come. The morning of May 1st, 2015, began with a military operation that was supposed to be routine. Mexican federal forces set out before dawn in Villa Purificación, Jalisco, with a clear objective: capture Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, the elusive leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, known simply as El Mencho. This operation would spark one of the most devastating days in Mexico's war against organized crime. The CJNG, despite its relatively recent emergence in 2010, had quickly become one of Mexico's most dangerous cartels. Formed as a splinter group from the Milenio and Sinaloa cartels, they brought together former soldiers, police, and career criminals under El Mencho's ruthless leadership. Their base of power centered in Jalisco, a state with significant industrial and economic value. By 2015, the CJNG was flexing its military muscle, showing it could stand toe-to-toe with government forces. That day, 4 helicopters, 3 military, and 1 from the federal police launched a coordinated strike. Their intelligence placed El Mencho in a convoy of armed vehicles traveling on dirt roads between Casimiro Castillo and Villa Purificación. The cartels, however, had advanced warning of the operation. Authorities later suspected a mole within law enforcement. As the helicopters approached, the convoy was ready.
El gobierno le había asignado una misión especial, para lo cual viajó temprano del puerto aéreo de Manzanillo, Colima, hacia el estado de Jalisco. Formaba parte de una operación secreta para detener al líder del cártel Jalisco Nueva Generación, Nemesio Rubén Oseguera Cervantes, alias.
The cartel's response was both brutal and unprecedented. From the ground, CJNG operatives unleashed a barrage of heavy artillery, including 50 caliber rifles and Russian-made RPG-27 rocket launchers. One of the helicopters, an EC-725 Cougar carrying 18 personnel, took a direct hit to its tail. Spinning out of control, it crashed in a fiery explosion that scattered debris over 250 meters. Inside, federal police officer Ivan Morales fought through the flames to escape, suffering burns over 70% of his body. 9 of his comrades, 8 soldiers and 1 federal police officer, died in the attack. Morales would later become a symbol of the government's fight against the cartels, his scarred face a constant reminder of the price paid that day.
El primer helicóptero de la Fuerza Aérea fue sorprendido con una artillería que incluía rifles calibre .50, lanzacohetes y granadas.
The downing of the helicopter marked a turning point in Mexico's drug war. It was the first time a criminal organization in Mexico had successfully shot down a military aircraft. The attack demonstrated the CJNG's advanced military capabilities and willingness to directly confront state power.
El plan del ejército mexicano era que el helicóptero se acercara al perímetro, eliminara las amenazas, localizara y detuviera a Oseguera, pero los narcos dieron el primer golpe.
But the chaos was just beginning. In a display of organization and power, the CJNG launched simultaneous attacks across Jalisco and 4 neighboring states. They hijacked 39 vehicles, including buses and trucks, setting 36 ablaze to block major roads and highways. These coordinated narco-bloqueos paralyzed transportation, stranding thousands of civilians and cutting off law enforcement response.
The new generation cartel blocked roads on May 1st with burning vehicles in at least 32 municipalities in Jalisco state and the states of Colima, Guanajuato, and Michoacán.
The cartel's rampage didn't stop there. They set fire to gas stations, banks, and businesses across western Mexico, using the chaos to distract authorities and cover their escape routes. The attack spread fear throughout Guadalajara, Mexico's second-largest city, and forced authorities to activate the highest-level security alert.
They have the capacity to use firepower, the capacity to organize and very probably they have infiltrated government security agents.
Security experts quickly recognized that this was no ordinary criminal group. The CJNG demonstrated not just firepower, but sophisticated organizational ability. Their tactics showed clear military training, likely from former soldiers and police now on their payroll. The operation revealed a level of planning and coordination that surpassed anything seen before in Mexico's drug war.
In February, a leader of the new generation cartel of Jalisco, Abigail Gonzalez Valencia, alias El Queenie, was arrested in Puerto Vallarta. The current head, Nemesio Osuguera Cervantes, is still at large, and the organization is said to involve hundreds of low-level operatives.
In the aftermath, the Mexican government responded with overwhelming force. Operation Jalisco was launched, deploying 10,000 troops and 300 armored vehicles to the region. President Enrique Peña Nieto personally vowed to dismantle the CJNG's leadership structure. But the damage was already done. The CJNG had made its point.
En ese momento, los narcos dispararon 4 granadas propulsadas por cohetes. 2 de ellas impactaron a la aeronave y provocaron que se estrellara envuelta.
The attack's impact was immediate and profound. The CJNG's boldness forced the government to recognize a new level of threat. Their use of military-grade weapons, including rocket-propelled grenades, marked a dangerous escalation. The incident triggered international concern, especially from the United States, as many of the weapons traced back to American sources.
Mexico's government claims the new generation cartel of Jalisco used rocket-propelled grenades last Friday to bring down this army helicopter, killing 6 soldiers.
The CJNG's show of force was not just about territory. It was a challenge to state authority. Their ability to execute such a large-scale, coordinated attack demonstrated their control over Jalisco and surrounding areas. It also revealed the depth of their infiltration into government agencies, as evidenced by the intelligence leak that compromised the operation.
We heard a boom, like a bomb. They took down the aircraft. They took it down.
For the people of Jalisco, the events of May 1st brought the cartel war to their doorsteps. The violence and destruction left a lasting scar on the region. Businesses were shuttered, roads blocked, and daily life disrupted. The message was clear. The CJNG would not go down without a fight.
to use firepower, the capacity to organize, and very probably, they have infiltrated government security agents.
As the government cracked down, violence in Jalisco escalated. Homicides increased by 9% in the following year, a direct result of the power vacuum created by arrests and confrontations. The CJNG, meanwhile, adapted its tactics, shifting focus to territorial expansion and fighting rival cartels.
No era por lástima o que me tuviera lástima, ¿no? Al contrario, ¿no? O sea, sé que había tenido un accidente, que había un atentado en contra de nosotros, o sea, del personal.
Officer Ivan Morales, the sole survivor from his helicopter crew, became a living symbol of the government's determination. His disfigured face appeared at public ceremonies, a constant reminder of the human cost of the conflict. Despite his injuries, Morales expressed no regrets, saying,
"I knew the risks. I was committed to doing my job."
There is no criminal group capable of beating the determination of citizens and their government to build a society free of violence.
The CJNG's attack changed the rules of engagement in Mexico's drug war. It showed that cartels were not just criminal organizations. They were evolving into paramilitary forces capable of directly challenging state power. The government's response was swift, but the CJNG had already proved its point.
Que nos derribaron, pues seguía los impactos porque iban por nosotros. Todavía a los que quedábamos vivos nos iban a rematar.
La única salida del helicóptero estaba en llamas.
The fallout from May 1st, 2015, continues to shape Mexico's fight against organized crime. The CJNG's boldness forced a re-evaluation of tactics and strategy. It exposed the vulnerability of government forces and the sophistication of modern cartels.
Lo que me acuerdo son los impactos, cómo se escuchaban, cómo pegaban en la lámina, cómo veías que pasaban más las balas de calibre 50 porque son las que atravesaban el casco del helicóptero. Al salir llevaba todo mi equipo, llevaba chaleco, llevaba chamarra, no llevaba casco, llevaba una gorra. De hecho, son materiales como muy plásticos los que usamos, las chamarras. Yo salí y sí me empecé a quemar muy rápido. Me acuerdo de que me quité la chamarra, llevaba mi armamento de armas largas, no supe dónde quedó hasta la hora de quitarme toda la ropa, porque sí me la quité. Todavía me quité la chamarra y de hecho me quité el chaleco. Traía un chaleco antibalas y fue lo que me salvó. Toda la parte del pecho y la espalda no está quemada por el chaleco que llevaba, pero sí me lo tuve que quitar porque se estaba incendiando. Pensé que iba a morir allí, y lo pensé por mi familia, mi hijo y mi esposa. Saber que iba a ser padre me motivó mucho a luchar. Después de
What began as a routine operation ended with a military helicopter burning in the Jalisco countryside, a stark symbol of the new reality facing Mexican authorities. The CJNG's message was clear. They would not be intimidated, and they were willing to fight with unprecedented ferocity.
The new generation cartel blocked roads on May 1st with burning vehicles in at least 32 municipalities in Jalisco State and the states of Colima, Guanajuato, and Michoacán.
The events of that day forced both the government and the public to confront the true nature of the threat. The CJNG had shown it could strike at the heart of state power and survive. The fight against them would require new tactics, greater resources, and a deeper commitment than ever before.
Pensé que iba a morir allí, y lo pensé por mi familia, mi hijo y mi esposa. Saber que iba a ser padre me motivó mucho a luchar. Después de
As we look back on that dark day, the lesson is clear. The Mexican government's war against the cartels is not just a fight against crime. It's a battle for control, legitimacy, and the very future of the state. The price paid on May 1st, 2015, remains a powerful reminder of what's at stake. But cartel violence never stops. So let's see our next case involving another one of these enormous criminal organizations.
Murieron dos jóvenes soldados del ejército mexicano. También 5 presuntos delincuentes.
March 17th, 2023. Deep in the mountains of Guerrero, a Mexican military convoy rolled through the narrow roads of El Pescado. The soldiers knew this was cartel country, specifically the territory of La Familia Michoacana. But what they didn't know was that 18 heavily armed gunmen had been watching their every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. La Familia Michoacana was once among Mexico's most powerful cartels. Even after losing top leaders in the government's war on drugs, this group regrouped and rebuilt its criminal empire. Now they control vast stretches of Guerrero and neighboring states, running everything from extortion rackets and kidnapping operations to massive drug production, especially methamphetamine and fentanyl. Their grip on these remote mountainous regions is so strong that local police rarely intervene, leaving the military as the only force willing to challenge them directly. The convoy that day consisted of experienced soldiers, men and women who'd seen plenty of cartel violence before. But nothing could prepare them for what happened next. Just as their vehicles entered a narrow pass surrounded by thick jungle, 2 pickup trucks loaded with gunmen burst from cover and opened fire. Automatic weapons ripped through the air, targeting the lead and trailing vehicles first to pin the convoy in place.
Las autoridades confirman la muerte de 2 soldados y 5 pistoleros, presumiblemente integrantes de la familia michoacana.
The opening volley was devastating. 2 young soldiers, barely out of training, were killed instantly, but the remaining troops responded with disciplined fury. Returning fire, they managed to disable one of the attacking vehicles, forcing several cartel gunmen to flee into the jungle. The firefight lasted nearly 20 minutes, with both sides trading heavy gunfire across the dense terrain. The military's quick response prevented an even greater tragedy. Instead of a complete massacre, the soldiers managed to hold their ground and call for reinforcements. When the smoke cleared, 5 cartel gunmen lay dead alongside the 2 fallen soldiers. Among the dead was a notorious sicario known as El Gordo, a close associate of La Familia Michoacana's current leaders, brothers El Fresa and El Pez. These 2 have terrorized the region for years, building their power through violence and intimidation.
Entre estos, de un sicario apodado El Gordo, cercanos a los líderes de la organización, los ya muy conocidos hermanos Hurtado Lascuaga, El Fresa y El Pez, quienes tienen asolada la región.
But the ambush revealed something even more disturbing about the cartel's operations in Guerrero. When investigators examined the bullet-riddled military Humvee, they found blue barrels identical to those used in clandestine drug labs. These containers are standard for producing methamphetamine and fentanyl, the deadly synthetic opioid flooding both Mexican and American streets. The evidence was clear. La Familia Michoacana was using these remote mountain regions to manufacture massive quantities of synthetic drugs.
Los barriles azules cargados en el Humvee en que murió el militar son como los utilizados en los narcolaboratorios para la producción de metanfetaminas y fentanilo, industrias de existencia confirmada en la Sierra de Guerrero.
The military's presence in Guerrero isn't just about fighting traditional drug trafficking anymore. Now it's about stopping the flood of synthetic drugs that are killing thousands across both countries. The cartel's control of these remote areas allows them to operate massive labs with impunity, unless the military can break their hold. This ambush wasn't just another skirmish in Mexico's drug war. It was a calculated attack designed to send a message. La Familia Michoacana isn't backing down, even against the full force of the Mexican military. The cartel's leadership clearly felt threatened by the military's increasing pressure on their mountain strongholds.
En los chats de los militares circuló la fotografía de este soldado de la montaña muerto el fin de semana en El Pescado, bajo las balas de 2 narcotraficantes.
The cost of this victory was personal. Photos of the fallen soldiers, especially one young man from the mountain region, circulated among military chat groups, fueling both grief and determination. These weren't just statistics in a never-ending war. They were sons, brothers, and friends who paid the ultimate price fighting to reclaim their country from organized crime. But the ambush also exposed a deeper problem. Despite years of military operations, the 2 top leaders, El Fresa and El Pez, remain at large, continuing to lead La Familia Michoacana's violent resurgence. The government's failure to capture these notorious figures has become a source of frustration among both soldiers and citizens. The battle lines in Guerrero are more complex than ever. La Familia Michoacana isn't just fighting the military. They're also locked in a brutal turf war with Los Tequileros, an affiliate of the powerful Jalisco New Generation Cartel. These competing criminal organizations are fighting over control of drug production, extortion rackets, and kidnapping operations in one of Mexico's poorest states. The human cost of this violence is staggering. Guerrero's residents have endured years of bloodshed as rival cartels fight for control of marijuana and opium production, alongside the newer synthetic drug labs. The military's presence brings some measure of security, but also paints a target on anyone suspected of cooperating with authorities. Since the government deployed the army against drug cartels in 2006, more than 350,000 people have been killed across Mexico. Each new ambush, like this one in March 2023, adds to the seemingly endless cycle of violence and retaliation. But despite the danger, the military continues its operations, determined to break the cartel's grip on these remote regions. The aftermath of the ambush saw increased military patrols and temporary disruption of cartel activities in El Pescado. But experienced observers know this is only a temporary victory. La Familia Michoacana will regroup, adapt, and wait for their next opportunity to strike back. The cycle of violence continues, fueled by the enormous profits of drug production and trafficking. But this attack marked a turning point. The military's ability to respond quickly and effectively prevented a larger massacre. The death of key cartel gunmen, including a close associate of the top leadership, sent shockwaves through La Familia Michoacana's ranks. And the evidence of drug production found at the scene gave authorities valuable intelligence for future operations. Yet the biggest outcome was psychological. The cartels' attempt to demonstrate their power instead exposed their vulnerability. The military's resilience and ability to fight back showed that even in the most remote regions, organized crime isn't invincible. Each defeat, no matter how small, chip away at the cartel's aura of untouchability. But the fight is far from over. As long as drug profits remain high and government corruption persists, groups like La Familia Michoacana will continue to challenge the state's authority. The mountains of Guerrero will remain a battleground between organized crime and those fighting to reclaim their country. The story of this ambush isn't just about 2 fallen soldiers or 5 dead cartel gunmen. It's about a broader struggle for control of Mexico's future. And while this battle ended with a military victory, the war continues, one mountain road at a time. But if you think this was a savage fight, wait until you see what happens when another cartel tries to challenge the Mexican army.
Este fin de semana, 12 presuntos criminales fueron abatidos después de un enfrentamiento que tuvieron con elementos de la Secretaría de la Defensa Nacional, la Sedena, en Ciudad Miguel Alemán.
February 18th, 2024. The quiet border town of Miguel Alemán, Tamaulipas, erupted in gunfire as Mexican Army patrols encountered a deadly ambush. What began as a routine operation would quickly escalate into one of the most decisive military victories against cartel forces in recent years. Miguel Alemán sits just across the Rio Grande from Roma, Texas. This region has long been a battleground for rival cartel factions, fighting for control of lucrative drug corridors. But on that Sunday afternoon, it was the Mexican Army's Special Operations units who would face the ultimate test of their training and discipline.
De acuerdo con las autoridades, durante un recorrido de vigilancia en la colonia Loma Linda, fueron agredidos por parte de un grupo de civiles que se encontraron ocultos entre la maleza, por lo que de manera inmediata comenzaron a repeler la agresión.
The soldiers were conducting a surveillance patrol through the Loma Linda neighborhood. This area had recently seen increased cartel activity, with multiple reports of armed groups moving through the brush. As the patrol advanced, they were suddenly attacked by a coordinated force of cartel gunmen hidden in the dense vegetation. What the attackers didn't realize was that these weren't ordinary troops. They were elements of the Secretariat of National Defense's elite response units. The soldiers immediately implemented their counter-ambush protocols, returning fire with precision and discipline.
De acuerdo con las autoridades, la agresión ocurrió en la colonia Loma Linda, en donde los soldados fueron atacados por estos hombres que se encontraban ocultos entre la...
The firefight lasted several intense minutes. Cartel gunmen, armed with high-powered rifles and tactical gear, attempted to flank the military position. But the soldiers' training and superior firepower quickly turned the tide. The military's response was swift and overwhelming. Using armored vehicles, drones, and coordinated infantry tactics, they systematically neutralized the cartel positions. The cartel's carefully planned ambush had turned into a disastrous defeat.
En las últimas semanas se ha desplegado un importante número de efectivos del orden federal, precisamente en la frontera tamaulipeca, ante los reportes constantes de situaciones de riesgo que se han estado registrando en...
In the aftermath, 12 cartel gunmen lay dead. The soldiers recovered an arsenal of 12 long rifles, countless magazines, and tactical equipment. Not a single soldier was killed or injured in the exchange, an almost unheard-of outcome in such a large-scale engagement. The success of this operation was no accident. In the weeks leading up to the ambush, the Mexican government had deployed significant reinforcements to the Tamaulipas border region. Reports of constant risk situations and armed attacks against State Guard elements had prompted this increased military presence. The specific unit involved was part of a broader federal security strategy targeting cartel strongholds along the border. These weren't just regular infantry. They were specially trained for urban and rural combat against heavily armed criminal groups.
La Sedena tuvo que repeler esta agresión. Lograron el aseguramiento de armas largas de diferentes calibres y, por supuesto, estas quedaron a disposición de las autoridades.
The military's victory sent shockwaves through cartel circles. Social media lit up with posts about the engagement, many from accounts believed to be linked to criminal organizations. The message was clear. Attacking these specialized units would no longer be tolerated. In the days following the ambush, the Mexican army maintained a strong presence in the area. Checkpoints were established on major roads, and patrols increased along known smuggling routes. The show of force was unmistakable. This victory marked a significant shift in the ongoing conflict between Mexican security forces and organized crime. For years, cartels had operated with relative impunity in Tamaulipas, using ambush tactics and overwhelming firepower against local police and military units. But this engagement proved that the new generation of special forces was more than capable of meeting the challenge. Their discipline, coordination, and tactical superiority had turned a potentially disastrous ambush into a decisive victory.
De acuerdo con las autoridades, durante un recorrido de vigilancia en la colonia Loma Linda, fueron agredidos por parte de un grupo de civiles que se encontraron ocultos entre la maleza, por lo que de manera inmediata comenzaron a repeler la agresión.
The significance of this operation can't be overstated. For years, cartels had relied on their ability to intimidate and outgun local law enforcement. But now, facing these specialized military units, the tables had turned. The success of this operation led to a series of follow-up missions throughout the region. The military began targeting known cartel safe houses and supply routes with renewed vigor. Morale among security forces soared, while cartel members reportedly began abandoning some of their positions near the border. But the victory came with a cost. Intelligence reports indicated that cartels were now changing their tactics, avoiding confrontations with military units. Instead, they began focusing on softer targets and using more sophisticated ambush techniques. Despite these adaptations, the message was clear. Attacking Mexican special forces would result in swift and deadly consequences. The era of cartel dominance in Tamaulipas was coming to an end. The impact of this victory was felt far beyond Miguel Alemán. Cartel groups across northern Mexico began re-evaluating their strategies. The military's show of force had demonstrated a new level of commitment to securing the border region. Residents, long caught in the crossfire, found a renewed sense of hope. The military's presence brought a measure of stability to areas that had lived under cartel control for years. Businesses reopened and families begging and to feel safer in their own communities. But the victory was only the beginning. The military knew that cartels would adapt and seek new ways to challenge their authority. The battle for control of the border region was far from over. Yet, for one crucial moment in February 2024, the message was clear. The era of impunity was over. The Mexican Army's special forces had shown that they were more than capable of meeting the cartel threat head-on. As we look to the future of this ongoing conflict, the lessons of Miguel Alemán will shape military strategy for years to come. The days of easy victories for cartel ambush teams are gone. The battle lines have shifted, and the Special Forces units now stand as a formidable barrier between organized crime and the communities they've long terrorized.